It's the Newport This Week video podcast series. I'm Bill Bartholomew. Always a great pleasure to spend time with you out there. And maybe you've subscribed already to the Newport This Week YouTube channel. If not, you should. And of course, newportthisweek.com is where not only you'll find the podcast, you'll obviously find the paper, the digital edition. There's much to discover there. And today we're talking Newport Public Library. In the article in this week's edition of Newport This Week, not your grandma's library. From childhood visits, you remember the unique, sweet smell of books lined up on shelves, aisle after aisle of them, and you wondered how anyone could ever read so much. That was then, this is now. The books remain, but there's much more to public libraries today than in your grandmother's day. That's a nice rhyme right there. Joe, thanks so much for making the time. If you want to introduce yourself, and we'll get into this conversation about all of the offerings at the library.
Thank you so much, Bill. Yeah, pleasure to join you. My name is Joseph Logue, and I'm the director of the Newport Public Library. I've been a Newport in law for about 35 years, and but moved down here 8 years ago to assume the director's job. And you couldn't be more right. I think about not being the library that many people remember from their childhood. I mean, I'm old enough to know, and I've spoken about this on a number of fronts, when it was only print. Uh, there just really, I don't think anything else existed. Well, no, I shouldn't say that because I do remember when I was a kid, I was going to listen. I would go to the vinyl department at the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library, and I would listen to Jesus Christ Superstar. They had turntables set up and everything. So I still actually think, no, I know all the lyrics, but there were very, very non-analog materials. I think that was like really the only non-print, I should say.
Right. And that's certainly different today. What are some of the changes that are most notable? Obviously, I mean, everyone would understand that there's a computer-based, um, you know, situation happening, but I mean, that pertains to Wi-Fi access, that it pertains to subscription services. Give us the rundown.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because uh, it really, even in the 20 years I've been a librarian, the the constant change, I think it was static for a very long time, but it really has been a lot of change in 20 years, and mostly they're almost to a single item, they are enhancements in service. So I think that's really, really important for people to understand is we still, of course, offer everything you do remember from your childhood, and but we also now we offer so much more. And the big elephant in the room, of course, is computer access, public use computer access. Whether people do not feel like purchasing a laptop or any sort of device that they have, and they come here because so much is online now. From applying for a job to checking your medical records or something. So we have safe, secure computers for people to use, and that is heavily used. It's also for printing. We all know we've all had those assignments due at 9 o'clock in the morning, and on 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, your printer dies. So we're always there for you on that front. We've really started expanding much more digital. We have Hoopla and Libby are services that you can download items, and they're very, very popular to the point where uh, we're going to be increasing spending in the new fiscal year. The collection management librarian and I have really looked at that very, very closely, and we'll be buffing up that, enhancing that budget line item. Uh, the big thing they've been around for a while, but they're incredibly popular, and we refer to it in the field as library of things, right? It is not. It's just things that because by their nature they might be single use, like for whatever reason you need a microscope, or what was last Friday we had the parade of planets, right? I mean, and I think both of our telescopes went out, or went out that day. So unless you're really an avid amateur astrologer, you're really not going to have telescopes sitting around the house. So, but there may be a phenomenon that you'd like to witness. So things like that, but also. I actually did it in my office one day. I borrowed the library sewing machine. Uh, I have no skill in that regard, let me tell you, because it took me twice as long to unspool the mess that I had created. So camping equipment, just single-use objects, and it's really great for visitors, right? People who come here and spend time during the summer.
There's also programming, and programming is something that's been historically a part of libraries, but it feels like right now, especially in this moment worldwide, frankly, but we need community pillars. And hey, you know what? Libraries have always been there and they always will be there. And you've got some pretty cool stuff happening.
Yeah, indeed. And we really do take people from birth right up until well into adulthood. Motor skills, being stimulated by colors and music and everything is super important. So we have dance parties and we have story times. And the summer reading program, which we're already started gearing up for, is super important because summer reading has proven time and again to be so important to school age children who do not then backslide as they progress to the next grade. So it comes with inducements. If you finish X amount of items and there are prizes involved, and so that's a huge component of what we do. And like I said, it takes up a lot. It takes a lot of time, but it's everything. It's Scrabble, like ad hoc Scrabble games and chess games that we have every other week, and the Friday afternoon movie that is very, very popular in our friends room. It's so the programs are computer classes, 3D classes. You can submit all your 3D uh, contraptions and all the things that you've made with Tinkercad. You can just submit those online and we'll print them up for you. And I got to tell you, these kids come up with some really, really clever things
We've
to print up.
we really are in a place right now. In fact, it's something I'm working on for an upcoming keynote address that I'm going to be giving up in Providence. And so that's why it's top of mind. This isn't to promote that keynote address. It's just it's top of mind for me. Third places is the term. So places that aren't your home or aren't your workplace or your school, and those are the spaces where, and especially in a digital world, especially post COVID, where you're going to interact with the community and things of a programmatic or happenstance based nature are going to take place that bring us to human connection again. Libraries are amazing third places where human connection actually happens. It's becoming rarer and rarer, and you're doing an amazing job of facilitating that.
Well, thank you. And I do have to say that what makes the library, dare I say, unique among third spaces, because we do know that phrase, is you do not need a reason to be in the library. If you want to sit in a cafe for 5 hours, it's sort of incumbent upon you to buy a coffee now and then or get a sandwich or something or wherever. It is nobody's business what you're doing in a library. Most of all, the librarians. If you just want to browse, we do ask you can't fall asleep in the library, but if you just want to sit down and read a magazine, even now I'm speculating on why you're in a library. We do not speculate on why you're here. This library is for patrons, residents, and that is it. You do not need a reason to be here. We have plenty of inducements and plenty of entertainments for you, but we serve as a warming center in the winter, a cooling center in the summer. We are not open 24 hours a day, but this all just goes to say that if you want to come into the library, it's a perfect third space because no one is going to demand that you provide a rationale for being here.
Joseph, thanks so much for your time today, and thanks for the great work that you do.
Hey, thanks so much, Bill. Pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.